Happy Legal Government Theft Day to all who celebrate. Actually, nobody likes to talk about taxes, obviously. But there's good news, actually. There's good news because I think, and I've always kind of like thought this, and you probably do too. Most Americans, everyday hardworking Americans, are willing to pay taxes if you know it goes towards something useful. Roads, military, public safety, schools, all that good stuff. As long as you're not getting ripped off. And as long as not going to fraudulent causes and sources and people. Well, they're starting to dig up more fraud than ever, which is kind of shocking to realize how bad the problem is. But the good news is it's happening. Except in California, where they're actually proposing a law to stop investigative journalists looking into fraud. Honest to God. It's conversationally called the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Anyway, we'll get into that. It's not going to be all taxes, I promise you. Something fascinating coming out about the Eric Swalwell story. How's his day? How's his week going? Worse than you could even imagine. We'll get into that as well. Great interview with Maria Bartiromo and President Trump. He basically says Operation Epic Fury in Iran's over. That's good. But more importantly, the most important story of the day is we have to get to the bottom, pun intended, of the poison yoga pants story. We need to figure this out because the state of Texas has launched an investigation into Lululemon. I know this is important. Ladies, I know you love your yoga pants. And you know what? We love them too. On you. Most of you. Anyway, we'll get to it. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. The live stream on X, YouTube, Facebook, then the replay on there. More importantly, the audio podcast, wherever you like to get those. Let's get right to it. Well, yeah, it's tax day. It's true. But you're probably filing an extension because really, what's the mindset here? Why am I going to be in a hurry to give the government my money where I know most of it's going to fraud? Although they're working on that. Well, you're not alone. Don't feel bad. According to a new survey, social science survey, at the start of the year, 29% of Americans, of all of us, said they probably procrastinate on filing their taxes this year. Now, they use the word procrastinate, but really I see that as an extension. Admitted to putting off last year, too, because let's face it, it's not something we really want to do. Back then, 15% of Americans thought they'd be done by January. 38% said they'd hope to get it all taken care of by February, 26% by March, 18% they expected to wait until April because who wants to pay taxes? But you know how this all works out. If you have to pay and you just know it's coming, you just know you didn't do anything different from last year when you had to pay, why would you be in a hurry? But you know how it goes. If you got a pretty good sense and your accountant is telling you or QuickBooks is telling you you're going to get some money back, oh, I want to get that right away. It's just the way it goes. But there's good news here. It's shocking at first to hear about some of the numbers. I get it. But there's a massive task force built specifically to combat fraud throughout the entire country where your tax money is stolen. J.D. Vance is in charge of that. I think it was CPAC he was at yesterday. He was talking about exactly what they're going to do. They are dead serious.
There was sort of in the Biden administration, probably intentionally, but regardless, this attitude of if you were committing fraud of under $1 million, you were committing fraud of under $1.5 million, we're just going to look the other way. And the approach that we've taken in the last couple of months is no amount of fraud is too big or too small. If you're defrauding the taxpayer, you ought to go to prison, and anybody who's helping you ought to go to prison too.
Okay, good. But we're all saying, okay, that's easy to sit there in a chair at a public conference and say you're going to get that done, but are you really? Well, you know what? Don't discount what he's saying, though, because it all does start with that. And I would say this, even if you didn't vote for this administration, maybe you don't even like J.D. Vance, can you honestly sit back and say that they don't try at least to follow through with what they're trying to accomplish? Pretty good record for at least fighting the battle, waging the war, and they're going to do it against fraud. That's the first step, and that's good news. This is where we come into play. Now, locally, I mean super local, your city, your county, and then move on to your state, and then the federal government. It's up to you, me, and everybody else. I know these elections aren't the most exciting thing in the world. You don't want to exactly pay attention to who your county commission candidates are. I get it. I got more important things to do anyway, or more entertaining things to do. But is there anything more important? You have to pay attention to this stuff. And this should be the number one question. If you ever get a chance to talk to any of these local, or federal, or state candidates, that should be the number one question we all have now. Because it relates to everything, all of it. It all comes back to this. Now that we know how bad the fraud problem is in our country, now that we have specific numbers, the number one question of all these people running for office is, what are you going to do to combat fraud? That's it. It's what they tried in California, what they're trying to do. Nick Shirley, remember him? Remember, I was praising him up and down in Minnesota. He's the guy that busted with his team. Independent journalist, a 23-year-old kid. All the Somali fraud in Minnesota basically ended Tim Walz's political career. God, a guy that was almost vice president. Can you imagine? Exposed all of that. Well, then Nick moved to California. Believe it or not, as huge as the Minnesota story was, the work he did in California was even bigger because he exposed, of all things, and you might have heard about this, hospice fraud to the tune of billions of dollars. Well, what's that all about? Well, people, some medical professionals, some just normal con artists, open up hospice centers in that name, bilk the government out of, which means your money, out of millions in each case, and they don't serve any patients. He exposed all of this. So you know what happens? They try to stop him. There's literally, not the official name of the bill, but conversationally, a bill in the California State Assembly that's called the Stop Nick Shirley Act. I swear to God, they're not even trying to hide their corruption anymore. It's not just California. I mean, they're trying to stop him specifically, but it's all every state in the union is trying to stop investigating fraud, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to put a stop to independent journalists investigating fraud. This is how corrupt they are. He was talking about it just the other day.
Yeah, they're trying to make it so citizen journalists or just average Americans who are going about seeing what's happening inside their community, they're trying to scare them from talking about potential fraud taking place inside of these communities. And think about it. They're literally willing to impose a $10,000 fine or imprisonment if you go and seek to find out the truth about a location that could potentially be fraudulent inside your own neighborhood.
Nick, let's.
Even more so than Minnesota, that kid is a hero, an absolute hero. But he's not the only one. He's not the only independent journalist out there. There are a lot of them that actually look into this stuff. They risk their own personal safety, money. They go out there, they film it all, they get involved, they actually do the work that our so-called free press should be doing. If we had a real, true press, a real, true media in our country, none of this would be able to happen anyway. But this stuff has been festering for not the last decade, probably close to 100 years. And it took somebody like this kid to investigate it all. So what do? They're in California, they're trying to create a law to specifically stop him and other independent journalists from investigating fraud. They're not even trying to hide their corruption anymore. They're not even trying. And as depressing as that is, but that's the good news. There's a lot of good news here, is because there are people like Nick Shirley and many others who are looking into this and doing that kind of work. They're doing God's work to expose all these fraudsters and corrupt people. And then and it's because of this, and I think it's a fair question to ask. Does the Trump administration create a task force putting J.D. Vance in charge of all the fraud if, I'll use him again, Nick Shirley hadn't exposed everything going on in Minnesota and then moved on to California, and then they started looking at all the other states? Do they even try to attempt to do that? I don't think they do, as they realized how easily you can find it if you do the work, and how bad the problem is. And it's the independent investigative journalists like that kid that actually exposed all this. And here's the other thing. Here's why you now have a fraud task force, because the administration realized this is a public win, a massively popular win. You'll never get rid of all the fraud, all our taxpayer money going to these corrupt cretins, but you take a big chunk out of it, for sure. Hope that kid gets it done. That would be awesome. Speaking of fraudsters and con artists, somehow, some way, I won't go into all the details because it was just horrifying. Eric Swalwell's no good, nasty, horrible, bad week got about 10,000 times worse yesterday. As is alleged, have to say alleged, victims had the press conference and filed charges against him for that 2018 incident in Beverly Hills. And then there's also now many politicians. Anna Paulina Luna is now saying she has forensic evidence that it may have been for a different incident. The videotape we all saw of filming him might have been a minor, and there might have been narcotics involved too. There's charges against him. His buddy Ruben Gallego from Arizona, did you see him? He did another press conference where he was in a panic saying, I knew nothing about this. We didn't know. I have no idea. He led a double life, even though more and more people are saying, boy, it sure looks like the side of his head in that videotape room in the hotel room. It's getting worse and worse for them. But something fascinating happened. Jesse Waters had on Stephen Miller, Trump advisor, last night. And of course, he's kind of like, taking a victory lap and laughing at Swalwell because Swalwell is such a corrupt dirtbag. But Stephen Miller said something fascinating that caught my attention at the end of this little clip here. Doesn't this confirm everything you ever thought about politicians? He's taking shots at the Democrats now, but don't you kind of think it happens on the Republican side too? Probably not as much, but this is how it works. This is the only thing that makes sense when we all ask, what happens to these people once we elect them and get them into office? You see them run locally or whatever, good guys, background. They get into Washington, D.C., and they're just a swamp rat. This may explain
While
it.
we have you here, has the president said anything about Swalwell? I don't know if he said anything. Has he been following that?
Why, has he had a bad week, Jesse? I haven't been watching.
You might be busy
has anything gone
with bigger matters of war and peace.
Couldn't have happened to a better person. But look, here's the most important thing if we have 10 seconds on this, and I'm sure you would agree with this. The most important part about this story, and look, Swalwell is a scumbag. He is a terrible person, the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low, the most dishonest of the most dishonest. But the real story here is how the Democrat Party controls its members through blackmail. It's got a blackmail file on all of its politicians, and it uses them to leverage and control them until it's time to release it. That is how sick and twisted the Democrat Party is. That's the next thread we've got to pull out here, Jesse.
All right, it's a dangerous business. We'll see how it shakes.
Doesn't that make a lot of sense? And let's be adults in the room now. Now, again, like I said, I don't think as bad. But it happens on the other side, too. It happens with the red team, too. Trust me on this one. Or how about the whole system? I mean, isn't it a sort and kind of type of blackmail where you have the lobbyist system where they get these people elected? Very few people, Trump accepted, can actually run and get elected to a high position of power like that with their own money. So that means naturally, the way the system is built, they can be bought. Lobbyists can control them. But how about that? How about what Stephen Miller is alleging? Once the Democrats get into office, they have files created on them with all the dirt. So in other words, if you don't vote, if you don't go our way, if you don't say these things, we'll expose you ourselves. Does that really happen, Bill? Oh, I don't know. Who was it really that took down Eric Swalwell? Who was it? Was it Trump? Was it Stephen Miller there? Was it the media? CNN tried to say, we took him down, we exposed the story. No. It was his own party who took him down because they saw what was happening. They knew how compromised he has always been. They knew about this stuff from the get-go, despite Nancy Pelosi saying, this was a total surprise to us. Right. Like she wasn't aware of anything. Even in her octogenarian mind right now, she, of course, knew how dirty this guy has always been. They saw how shaky the gubernatorial polls were in California, and they couldn't afford to lose that state. They took him down. So what Stephen Miller is saying here is exactly right. All of these people are blackmailed, with few exceptions. And I bet you it happens on both sides, but that's just speculation. Who knows? Speaking of President Trump, it's caught my eye, the little teaser promo. Maria Bartiromo, I've said for years, does the best interviews of Trump. Best interviews of all because they like her, and she asks tough questions. And she had a little teaser video of her interview coming up, and this is what caught my attention, was the wording. What do we know about Trump and how he words things? Pay attention to it, because it usually means it's exactly how things are going.
I just left the president. It was a great interview. He said a lot about the economy, about the Iran war, about NATO. One thing that I'll leave you with, I said to him, Mr. President, you keep talking about the war like was. I said, is it over? He said, it's over. During the whole interview.
Well, that's interesting. That's probably what I would call the perfect teaser promo for an interview coming up. I mean, they got my interest. They got me to go watch the interview and what he said about it. She's a great broadcaster. She just is. All right, so then you get to the interview. Talked about a lot. He's all over the place. You got to rein him in a little bit. She does a good job with that. But specifically, is Operation Epic Fury over? Is it or not? Pretty much.
Keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. But we'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
That's
Seems to make sense. I think it is. We've gotten everything they want. And yet, so here you have the president basically saying Operation Epic Fury is over. You go back 10 days and you had every media talking head, except people like her, saying, America's losing. And they were even saying, they said this last night, the blockade is a failure. No, it's not. And I can't wait to see what these people say when gas is about $1.50, because now the rest of the world has to buy our energy. That's just amazing. You truly cannot hate the mainstream media enough for trying to gaslight you into everything. It's just unbelievable. All right, let's forget about all that and let's get to the story that really matters. Not corruption, not fraud, not Iran, not Swalwell. Talking about yoga pants. That's right. Now, this is one of those stories. It didn't make me go, It made me go, what the hell? Texas, Lululemon, Ken Paxton, poison chemicals? What the hell is going on here? A little bit of background. I'm not going to read the statement because it's all in legalese and you know how that goes. But here's the wrap up. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has launched an official investigation from his state. Why Texas? I have no idea. Into activewear giant Lululemon, amid concerns that its products may contain potentially harmful forever chemicals, according to an official announcement released just this week. I had to go some background on this. I'm like, this is actually, it sounds like a silly thing. Not the chemical part. It sounds like a silly thing when you talk about yoga pants. It's really not. Stop and think about how many women, I guess there's guys too, but stop and think about how many women you see every single day wearing yoga pants. Everywhere. All the time. When you have that many Americans affected by this, and I know it's a worldwide problem, it's a big deal. And now that you have an official, Ken Paxton doesn't mess around either in Texas. If he's onto it, he's onto it. He's not going to give up because he's also running for office, and this would be a big win for him if he can stop this. Although it may backfire. Because what do we know about personal behavior? It took forever, decades, for people to stop smoking to the numbers we see right now. We really think an action from the Texas Attorney General is going to make women stop wearing yoga pants? I don't think so. But at least he wants this company to clean things up. I had to do a little bit of research, and I found a video from a guy who has been talking about this now for years. His name is Paul Saladino, Dr. Paul Saladino. A little clip about what he was talking about. He's been saying this for a long time.
There are forever chemicals in the crotch region of Lululemon leggings and the leggings of many other companies. These are PFAs, perfluoroalkyl compounds, that are called forever chemicals. It's very hard for the body to get rid of these, and they're persistent in the environment. We know they can be absorbed through the skin, which is crazy when you think about the fact that they're concentrated in the crotch region of leggings like these, and women don't wear underwear with these commonly. These chemicals are associated with hormone disruption, with cancers, with thyroid, kidney, and liver damage in humans. They're horrible for us, and they're in our clothing, especially the crotch region of these leggings, where you're not wearing underwear. They're getting into your body, and they're staying there. Know what's in your leggings. Make smart choices. Knowledge is power. Know better, do better. Be careful of what.
Know better, do better. Right, I get it. Now, as a company, I don't really feel too sorry for Lululemon. Do you remember this story? These are the things that stick in my head. It's a sickness. I get it. Do you remember Lululemon? There was a store. They had a robbery, and the store employees tackled the thief, and then the company fired the store employees for doing that. It was a long time ago, but that bothered me so much. So if that's the company we're talking about here, I don't really feel bad for them. And it's an opportunity. Now that yoga pants have been released to the world, and God love it, in most cases. It's a fantastic thing. I don't think you're going to ever get rid of them. So it's a golden opportunity. In chaos, there's opportunity. Some non-chemical yoga pants brand that'll come up. This is your shot. Come in there. Go in there and market your yoga pants as chemical-free and completely healthy and all that good stuff. And somebody will. Somebody will do this. But it's fascinating to see. It's going to take a long time. You can't break people's habits that easily, and it's certainly not going to come from Ken Paxton in Texas. What happens with it? I don't know. The good news is, and I know in everything you see, everything I love is full of chemicals in these days. Well, it mostly is. The good news is we're aware of it these days, and if you're aware of it, at least you can make your own choices, right? We got to fix the yoga pants problem. All right. Thanks for finding me. I'm out of here. I'm out of material, and you got to get on with your day. It's only midweek. Make it a wicked awesome Wednesday. Thank you, all you new audio podcast listeners. A lot of you, more and more. You found it. Whatever podcast platform you like to listen on, please follow, share, subscribe, like. They're all different, but however you do it, so you know new episodes are coming out. And then the replay on X, YouTube, and Facebook, live every single day, almost, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time on those same platforms. Make it a wicked awesome day. Talk to you tomorrow.